which means January is over, obviously. So I spent today exporting my time from my time tracking software into Excel so I could do a bunch of comparisons between the money I made in January and the hours that I spent, slash my the colleagues that I have, associates that work with me, spent. And I don't bill by the hour, but I think this is a really important exercise because I like to know how much I am paying myself, in a sense. I like to know how much each task that I'm doing is worth, in a sense. So if I am doing like a basic bookkeeping task, then that is worth a different dollar amount than if I was to do a financial analysis, like a comparative analysis or cash flow forecaster or something like that, that's a little bit more complex for a client. So I like to know where I'm spending my time and how much each hour is worth, in a sense. And then I use that to bill the company. I'm not really billing the company because I'm a sole proprietor. It's all just me, but I keep it really, really separate, which means that I pay myself every month. Caitlin is paid by Caitlin Kirk, Chartered Professional Accountant. Like, they're different. And so I like to export all of these transactions, so they're not transactions, but time logs, so that I can do up a chart of I spent time on these service items, basically. They're worth this much per hour, which means my total invoice for the month is like hours times the rate for each service. And then I can pay myself that much. It's also really great for understanding the relationship between the time and energy that I spend on a client and the amount of money that they're paying me. Because I don't charge by the hour, I really need to understand that relationship, because if I'm spending a ton of time on a client and say they're only paying me a little bit of money every month, then that's like there's a disconnect there. So I like to make sure that I'm checking on that regularly, because obviously each month sort of fluctuates. So I think that's really, really important. And this leads to the question, like, I know I'm super busy, but can I afford to hire somebody? Like, is my company structured in such a way that I could bring somebody on and buy back my time? So if I'm spending most of my time on less complex items, and I know for sure maybe not for sure, but like I have a pretty high percentage. No, wait. You get what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to sell that hour for more than the less complex task is worth. Then I want to hire somebody to do that less complex task so that I can do a more complex task and charge more for it. So say this person charges me, I don't know, 30 bucks an hour, but I know I can sell this task for like 150 bucks an hour. That means that I'm making 120 bucks an hour on the gap there, on that hour, basically, because I am doing something that's more complex, that's worth more. But I wouldn't know that if I wasn't tracking my time by the task that I'm doing or the type of task. So I think it's really important to break down your business into the service items, in a sense, that you do regularly. So for me, it might be something like bookkeeping, payroll services, financial statement preparation, personal taxes. I have ones for like marketing or strategy, or like some of the stuff that you wouldn't, that I don't bill for. Like, I don't bill for my marketing and all that stuff, but I could pay somebody to do it. So that means that I want to be tracking that, so I know that I can outsource it, or if I should be outsourcing it, because maybe it's something I don't love doing. So it feels like it takes a long time, but really it only takes a couple hours a week, and I just hate doing it. So if I know that, then I can make a decision and say, yes, it's worth it to pay somebody to do that, or no, I'm just going to suck it up because it's only a couple hours a week. It's not worth hiring somebody. So that's what I spent the day doing, is just comparing numbers and having a look. Getting to the end of this exercise on a monthly basis, because 1 month might be skewed. Maybe you have one-off projects, or like you have a bunch of catch-up work to do, or something happens in the month. Just that one data set of a month is not necessarily a great amount of data to use to make drastic decisions. So if I had 1 month where I was like, oh man, I'm so overwhelmed, I just have so many things to do, and like, oh, I've got so much bookkeeping to do, then I was looking around for something to pick up, but yeah, bookkeeping to do, then, you know, maybe you just had a really busy month and it's going to cool off in the next month. I like to look at these sort of within 3 month blocks, or rolling blocks. So this month I would have looked at November, December, January, or today I mean, and then on March 1st I'll look at December, January, February, and on April 1st, January, February, March, you get it. But that gives you a trend. That gives you a trend, so you can see like, oh man, I actually spend more time consistently than I thought on like emails, or onboarding people, or like meetings or something like that. I would really love for somebody to be able to triage my emails and go through that. That would be amazing. If I could pay somebody $40 an hour or $10 an hour, probably not $10 an hour, but like pay them an amount that is less than I know I can go and make during that same hour, it's probably worth it to pay that person. You have to be cognizant that gap, so the amount that you're paying versus the amount you can sell, also needs to cover your other costs. Because it's really easy to look at this from strictly wages and be like, man, I'm making so much money. But it doesn't take into account the things like software that you need to pay for, or rent, or like any of that. So wages is just another cost that you have to look at, but I think it's a really good one to be tracking, especially in your own time. So my challenge to you is to spend some time thinking about the tasks in your business that are recurring, or service items, or whatever grouping you want it to be. And just make a list of them. I think I have 10 or so that I'm tracking time against. And just keep those for like 3 months, at least 3 months. And then if something changes, you can add one, or maybe turns out you don't really need to be tracking one and you can lump it into another service item. But just stick to it for 3 months and see what happens. See what you should be paying yourself. See if there's a piece of your business that you could outsource and that you know buying your time back will make you money. If you're doing this and you're struggling with it, or even if you're having a great time, I'd love to chat with you about it. I love this kind of thing. So I've left my booking link in the description. It's kirkcpa.ca/book-a-call, book-a-call, and you can have 30 free minutes with me to chat about your time tracking system. I use Excel. I export from T-Sheets into Excel so that I can manipulate the data there, because I love Excel. But if you have a different system, then great. Yeah, I think that's all for today. If you have a question about any of this, definitely leave it in the comments for me and I will get back to you. I'll see you tomorrow.